Welcome to the Twilight Lounge, where Eric's phone is telling him something very important is happening. This is Good for the Jews, and we are the Jews. I am Larry Rosen, and I am unusually, for once, clean-shaven.
You looking good?
How about that? Yep, looks like a balloon with a face painted on it.
Stubble right on
Did I miss a spot?
You missed a spot right there on the side of the head.
I hate that when that happens. That's why well, I'm not clean-shaven on my head. I don't go full cue ball, as you may know.
You keep little.
I keep a little bit because, frankly, the upkeep would be really, really time-consuming, and it would probably hurt. I don't know about you, but I hate actually shaving with a razor.
Yeah, I don't enjoy shaving. I like the effect, but
I don't even like the effect anymore. But I was starting to feel like I looked about 4,000 years old. The wife always says she prefers the clean-shaven me, so I shaved early this week. What's the response? Crickets. Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, nothing.
Damn.
Yeah. It's not, so
it hurts to get old, man.
I said, well, guess I won't be shaving, but then I did today just because, I don't know what got into me.
Hey, there's other chicks.
You just can't explain these things. So you want a raccoon update?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay. I spent a day researching how to eradicate a raccoon. Found all these cockamamie formulas for stuff you could make.
Oh, yeah, that stink.
Cayenne pepper. Most of them involve cayenne. Because someone told me coyote urine. And I thought, oh, okay, no problem.
Just go get some of that.
Just go knock on the coyote's door and say, excuse me, have you flushed yet? If not, I'd like to maybe have a little bit of that urine to get rid of the raccoon that's tormenting my dog. Instead, I went to Lowe's, not Home Depot, Lowe's, because it's on the way to Bevmo, where I wanted to go, and bought some stuff.
Like bottled coyote urine?
Yeah.
No. You could get that at Bevmo?
I've had things I've bought at Bevmo that tasted like bottled coyote urine.
I've heard enough.
But I've never seen it called by that name. No, it wasn't coyote urine at all, and it wasn't cayenne pepper at all. It was just a bottle of chemicals.
Right. Synthetic urine.
They probably synthesized the urine and created it.
Is this organic urine?
Well, don't tell my neighbors, but it wasn't organic. It wasn't artisan, and it was not farm to table. It was just a bottle of chemicals.
Heirloom coyote urine?
It was not heirloom coyote urine,
Okay.
no. I had the child climb up on the fence, sprayed it. So far, no coyote. I mean, no raccoon, no coyote either.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no raccoon. So far, I don't know. We had our contractor, we had a bunch of work done at the house. Had the contractor over yesterday, expressly told him, when he starts, close that up.
Yeah.
Take away the lair.
Make it raccoon-proof. Make
it raccoon-averse more. Yeah. Like the raccoon won't want to come there.
Oh, okay.
There'll be no reason for the raccoon to come there. Makes my dog happy. Speaking of my dog, by the way, we gave him an IQ test the other night.
For a dog?
Yeah. We were curious. So
did he bone up ahead of time?
No, and I kind of wish he had. He's not so good.
Dog's not smart?
No.
Well,
there's 6 tests.
It's just a dog. I mean, what do you expect?
But there's 6 tests. Well, it's designed. It's not like it's designed for dogs. I think they're asking about Archduke Ferdinand or something. It's dog stuff. Everything involves a treat. So the first test, you take a treat, you show him the treat. He sniffs the treat. Then you have a tin can or something, like a bean can or something. So my child takes a bean can, shows the can to the dog, shows the treat to the dog, shows putting the treat under the can, covers the can, lets the dog go. Says, "All right, Dad, start timing." So I start. Our dog's so stupid. He goes up to the can, he sniffs it for a while, and then goes and sniffs some other stuff. And he's going crazy because he can't find this treat. He can't figure out that the treat's under the can.
Really? He doesn't just knock it over with his paw underneath the treat?
Could not figure it out. If you run out finally 60 seconds elapse, he gets 1 point for that. You get 5 if you get it like 10 seconds.
So you finally just give him the points and give him the treat.
1 is the least you can get. It's like Yelp. Yeah. You can't get any lower than 1.
Okay.
Second one is you just throw a blanket on him and see how long it takes him to get out. He did really well at that one. Took him like 10 seconds. Boom, he's out.
Right. Okay, good.
Next one, you take the treat.
He's an escape. He's got the escape thing down, but he'd starve once he was out in the wild.
You take the treat and you show it to him. And then you put it under, we use like a dish towel. You putting it under the dish towel and see like that. He got it out in like 45 seconds. And this was kind of ingenious, but eventually, first he was trying to eat it through the
towel. Right, well, he's a dog. He's like, oh, cool.
He's not just
That's a full meal here.
He's a stupid dog. Eventually, he pushed it out with his nose, which I thought was kind of smart, but I think it might have been an accident, too. And then the fifth...
Just kind of rooting around.
Yeah, and it comes out and he's all happy. Fifth one, he takes another treat. You're supposed to put it under... Now, I think... You tell me if you think my dog... anyone who's not my mom, my dog is a Corgi and has very short legs.
Yeah.
So you put the treat under something that he can't get under, so he'll have to reach under with his paw and get it. So we put it under a clothes hamper.
Okay.
And the dog, he goes up to the edge of the hamper, and he gets down really low, and he puts his nose underneath, and he just looks at it.
Well, he's at a disadvantage. He's got those short legs,
so
he can't really reach under there.
He couldn't reach under there.
I mean, he's designed, he's bred so that he could fit into those cramped places. But you put it under, like where a piece of paper would fit. That's not fair to the dog. If you put it like in a hole, he's made to be able to root it out. Yeah.
But I think the smarts of knowing I'm going to use my... You think maybe he's smart enough to... I'm going to use my arms like... What am I, an idiot? My arms aren't going to fit over there. No, he doesn't have a tail.
Oh, see? Well, you messed him up, man. Well, he's supposed to have a tail. He's supposed to have normal-sized legs. He could do wonders. If he had like a leg where he could reach or a tail, he could bat it out. It was
the saddest thing I've ever seen. He just sat there looking at it. Oh. He got as low as he could. Figured he couldn't get to it with his nose.
Oh,
and he just couldn't.
Breaking my heart.
And then the last one, you sit across the room, call his name, and then he looks at you, and then you say something like refrigerator, and see if he looks at you. He's notorious for not coming when you call anyway. So, I don't know what the deal is. He's never come when you call him.
What kind of dog is this?
A standoffish dog.
Arrogant dog.
A little bit of an arrogant dog.
Oh, you can put the food under there and give me some test? You know what you can do with your test? You can stick it. I'm going to sit here and look pathetic staring at that treat until you say, oh, forget the test.
Who's the idiot now? I got 5 treats and I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but it's been a little tough around the house now that we know we have a subpar dog.
Why? What changed?
Well, I thought he was kind of smart.
Hurt your dignity? I mean...
I feel bad for him now. Now I know he's looking at me going, oh,
where am I?
What's going on, man?
I recognize you.
You're that guy with the food.
You messed me up with that treat.
So we brought him to pet camp today because, we're going away for the weekend for July 4th.
Yeah, well, tell the world since your house will be unattended.
We saw Mark, our friend Mark.
Yep.
And he told me that dumb dog's better for you.
Because?
Smart dog's a pain in the neck.
Really?
Needs more stimulus. He's bored. My dog will never get bored because he has one job and one job only. To protect us from everything. And that's what he does. That's all he does. Raccoons?
Well, he's not dumb then. He's like finely tuned.
He might be finely tuned.
Single-purpose, finely tuned, animal.
It's been bred out of him. Well, why do I need to be smart? My job is to let you know if someone's coming. If a rogue contractor wanders into the house and starts measuring things,
I will be there.
I will make sure that I am between him and you.
That's the trade-off. He says, I'm going to do that for you, and I expect you to hand me the treat.
I expect to not have to work for the treat, for God's
sake. If you're hiding the treat, then I'm not going to tell you when there's some psycho killer hidden in your closet.
If this becomes a regular thing where the treats are hidden, forget about it.
Right, we made a deal.
I will open the door for the raccoon if I could figure it out. If I wasn't so stupid, I could figure out how to open a door.
Would he let the raccoon in, or would he zoom out into the yard and go berserk?
Well, now he would, but I'm saying if he finds that from now on treats come with a condition attached to them, he might just go, all right, pal.
All right, raccoon.
Here's your raccoon. Come on in, buddy.
Yeah.
Can you reach that treat? It's under that hamper there. I can't reach it.
You're really treading sort of a dangerous path.
We might have opened some sort of a can of worms with that poor, stupid little dog. Yeah. But I did note today. God, did you? So our city, in its inimitable wisdom, has closed a section of the 280 freeway.
Heard about this.
A section that you use to get to pet camp, by the way. Right. I don't know why they closed it, but I know they're trying to use it as this great opportunity to see what life would be like without that freeway and how great it would be to not have a freeway. We could plan it, make a garden out of it.
What kind of rationale is that?
It's the kind of rationale that got me sitting in traffic for 45 minutes to travel 3 miles to pet camp today. That is my dog's other purpose, to sit next to me when I'm in traffic and calm me down.
Oh, does he do that?
No, he's just sitting there.
He doesn't roam all around the car and get
he wanders a little bit.
Foot and all that?
No, he wanders and he gets bummed out because he slides around.
Uh-huh.
But he was just sitting on the chair, so I could just pat him on the head. Like, hey,
you don't have like one of those little dog seats for him that seatbelts in, that can sit in. It's kind of secure, so when you accelerate and stuff,
we do have the back of our station wagon has like a little clip that you can clip his leash to, and he's stuck back there.
Oh, that's like a hanging, choking device.
Exactly.
That's
so I was like, whatever, I don't care if he wants to jump over. And I don't know why he wants to jump over, because he's always nervous when he jumps over. Like when we travel...
Right, jumping out of nerves. I mean, he's nervous.
No, jumping because he wants to get into the front. And then when he gets to the front, he's nervous because he can't get comfortable. When we travel, he travels, and you probably don't... You have cats, so probably not say. He has a giant box that collapses. I guess it's a crate.
Cage, like a
it's like a crate. It's made out of I don't know what stuff they make tents out of. What do they make? Nylon, canvas,
cordura.
It's made out of corduroy, and satin. Cordura.
Oh, and satin.
No, and he sits in there happy as can be. Zips up. You open the back of the car. There he is. But he would prefer to get up in that front seat and be miserable.
Yeah. Well, don't you roll the window down so he can hang his head out? And
He's never done that. Maybe that's part of the function of having those tiny little legs.
Yeah, because he probably can't get up there securely.
Right.
He doesn't have the balance, because with short legs, his center of gravity is not going to be right, and he could just flip out that window.
Yeah.
Long leg dogs.
I know. So that's the thing. I don't want him to put himself in danger by going up to that window. So yeah, he's getting older. He's 8 now, and the other day, some hippie asked me, "How old's your baby?" I said, "My son is 17. My dog is 8."
And I don't have a baby.
Right. I don't have a baby. I have an 8-year-old dog, a 17-year-old son, a 49-year-old wife.
Right. I hate when people call my wife my bride. Oh, how's your bride?
Oh, I call my wife my bride.
You've been married for like 20 years.
Oh, she'll always be my bride, unless she decides she doesn't.
No, she's your bride the night you got married.
So you're saying bride has a expiration date of 24 hours. Like
once you take off the white hat, once you get rid of the veil.
Oh,
not the bride anymore.
All right.
It's not your wife.
Well, okay.
Well, that's just how I see it. I don't know.
See.
You're the word guy. I'm sure if you looked in the dictionary, it might support.
But you're a man of convictions. You know what? I was watching, I was listening to a podcast with Anthony Bourdain on it, and I was thinking, who does he remind me of?
Oh, yeah, because he's not on enough TV channels.
And I thought, no, he reminds me of Eric Goldberg.
Really? He reminds me of my friend Hidon Golan.
How come?
He looks exactly like
him. Not looks.
He travels all over the world.
Or travels.
Yeah.
I just mean general Maine.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's funny because when we watch Anthony Bourdain on TV, Jen always goes, "God, I like that guy, but he's such a bastard."
Well, there you go.
He's just got such a nasty, mean,
he's not mean.
Arrogant quality. Well, he's got this just kind of like, sort of screw you quality to him.
Well, maybe, I've seen that on the TV shows, on this podcast, definitely not. I don't see any way to not talk about this, because we do tend to talk about timely things that are happening, but it's not a good for the Jews, bad for the Jews thing. I really want to know, and I kind of think I need this to be sort of like a classroom lesson for me. I try to consume as much information about the aftermath of the kidnappings as I could, and the Arab kid getting killed, and I was trying to figure out, and all the hyperbole on both sides. Not good for the Jews, not bad for the Jews, but what is the proper response? I want to know from you, what do you think Israel should do? What can they do?
I'm not big on saying what I think Israel should do, because
all right, then just tell me
such a tough spot, and everyone tells them what to do. They got their elected leadership.
Well, let's discuss potential outcomes of options.
Well, before we even talk about potential outcomes of options, I'm not so sure that we actually understand what went down.
How could we?
Right. I think, what I get concerned about is something happens on the ground in Israel, and then immediately political parties who've got an interest, one way or the other, start to, use the situation to further their agendas.
They capitalize immediately.
They capitalize on it. So,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, equally disturbing to me, because I read the comments, is how, to me, the response of people on the street is like when someone turns a valve and quickly releases all the pressure in the whole world. It's like 0 to 120. Exactly. Every assumption, every emotion, immediately.
Right.
Boom.
This immediately reinforces everything I believe. Right. And this is what I think is the problem. And it's bad for the Jews. It's really bad for the Jews. Everyone's got their preconceived notions, and no one's trying to tease through and discover the truth, okay, and get to the bottom of it. Everyone's just using these events to reinforce their positions, So when it comes to the kidnapping, okay, first of all, someone on the West Bank kidnapped 3 Jewish boys
and just to reinforce what we discussed when America's sweetheart Joe Fogel was here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
In accordance with what you said, there's no way that's good for the Jews.
No way that's good for the Jews.
No way.
You don't kidnap, my people and kill us.
You don't kill 3 kids who are the same age as my kid.
You don't kill 3 kids. Right. Whatever. It's like, that's completely unacceptable. I don't stand for it. But here's what we don't know. Who actually did it?
I know. How, I mean...
who... The initial... The Palestine Authority, headed by, the Mahmoud Abbas... Mm-hmm. They worked with the Israeli authorities to try to find the kids.
Right.
Okay. Hamas really didn't take credit for doing it and appears to have disavowed the action, although they try to make political hay out of it. But it doesn't, no one from Hamas came to the Israeli government and said, we got your boys and we want to work a deal. Okay.
Well, and I read that something I read had sort of tracked it to these 2 guys.
Yeah, who are a member of a clan in the West Bank. So it looks like to me,
whose family has a long history of crazy.
And there's plenty of them there.
Yeah.
There's also people don't understand the Palestinians. They're not a monolithic political entity. They're just like they got their cities and their clans, and everyone's got their own little loyalties to their religion and their tribe, their family name and stuff. And you got these families who've lived in the same town for generations. The father's the sheik of the village, and everyone in town's pretty much related by somehow or another, and they run their little businesses and whatever. So, they're little clans.
So in that sense, I mean, and that sort of seems to be bubbling up in Iraq right now too. The idea of imposing a single nation on that is kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they're not without national identity.
Yeah.
I mean. I think it's wrong to deny that there is an Iraqi people with an Iraqi national identity, or Syrian people or Lebanese people or Palestinian people. I don't want to denigrate them. They have it. I just don't think it is enough for them to conduct themselves as a nation, and it certainly doesn't allow them to put out a political process.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely introduces a lot of challenges.
Yeah, but back to the story. Who kidnapped the 3 Israeli boys? The news I'm getting now, the indications are that there were these rogues, these Palestinians on the West Bank who did it.
So why would they do that? Now, is it possible they were doing it to make their like gang initiatives? Hey man, this will show you.
Could be a blunder. Could be they thought the political timing was right, and they were going to make a move that was going to have some kind of political impact.
Well, the political timing was certainly interesting.
Well, what I believe, and I don't have facts to support this, but what I believe is they snatched our boys, and then no one came, and then they didn't have an outlet.
They were stuck with them.
They were stuck with them, and they knew they couldn't hold them. And Israel put a dragnet on the West Bank, and when the Israeli dragnet comes down,
they clamp down.
They know exactly how to do it. They're going door to door searching for the guys. So I think these guys probably panicked.
Yeah,
that's what I believe. Now you talk about what is being presented as a Israeli settler retaliation or revenge killing against the Palestinians. Right. They find an Arab kid who's been murdered in the West Bank. Okay, again, who did it and in what context? You don't know. Could have been some.
In either case, it could be one nutball.
Right. Exactly. It could be some Israeli settler gangs who are saying this is a price tag killing. You kill us, we're going to.
Because there was a lot of crazy rhetoric coming from Israel afterwards.
Yeah, coming from who in Israel?
Coming from people in Israel. Yeah.
I mean, here's what people don't understand about. Right. What you don't understand about Israel is Israel's like America in the sense that anyone can say whatever they want. Mm-hmm. Right. You have 20 political parties in Israel. You got factions. You got newspapers. Everyone can say what they want. You're not speaking for Israel. Not so with the Palestinians. The Palestinians are more like the Arab countries where, people don't say what they want, what they think, for fear of retaliation by their own people. Mm-hmm. People toe the line. People don't break ranks with the official doctrine of their party or whatever. People don't express an opinion that goes against what their parents and their village leaders say, because they'll get their ass kicked. They'll get their heads cut off.
Literally.
Literally.
So, not to be the cynic that you've accused me of being in the past.
Oh, go ahead.
But is there any official Hamas official? They are a delightful fava bean spread. No. Any Hamas official who sees a situation and goes, good. Now we've got a reason to give up any hope of a peace process. Now we've got everyone on our side again. Because, this is why, I mean, killing that Arab guy was a colossal blunder. Doesn't matter who did it. It was a colossal blunder.
Well, but you don't know really what happened, though.
Right, but no, it doesn't matter, though.
But here's one report I've gotten. I don't know if there's a credence to this, but if I put stock in it, but I heard one report
His
that
dad
said...
killed him?
Yeah, it was an honor killing.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And this goes on all the time in the West Bank. I mean, people don't realize that the murder rate among Palestinians is there's more Palestinians murdering each other than are getting killed by the Israelis.
Well,
it's a lawless place.
I'll tell you this though: if his father, and this is also cynical, if it's an honor killing, it doesn't matter. No one's going to care. No one's going to believe it. No one's going to care.
Right. So the timing
doesn't matter.
The message, right? So, but let's just say it's a worst case scenario that some hothead Israeli settler decided to deliver revenge killing, which is the worst thing possible.
Right, but I'm going to say two things.
It's still bad for the Jews.
It's not going to matter if it was one hothead or if it was government sanctioned. As far as international opinion goes, I'm already seeing things like phrases like what little legitimacy Israel has. That phrase being used, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter from the start.
But how come? And this is a huge question that is going to make me sound very naive, but how come that happened within 24 hours? How come Barack Obama called Netanyahu and said, you need to, say that this is not good? Within 24 hours of that happening, yet, does he have no one to call on the other side to say you need to do something? Or?
Oh, he does. He does. I mean, this is what I think is a great hypocrisy in the whole situation.
That the world's really quick to say, in the case of the 3 Israelis, it was probably a rogue element, whereas in the case of the one Arab guy, no, it wasn't a rogue element.
Well, even more to the fact, in the case of the 3 Israelis who were kidnapped and then executed, basically the people of the world, public opinion, it appears to me, is that we don't really care.
Yeah,
and you had it coming.
Well, yeah, you had it coming.
That's you're getting what you deserve. Basically, is the attitude of the people who are against us.
It's interesting. The more I read about this stuff, and I've definitely, so I spent time learning about this stuff when our kids were at Brandeis, and then nothing. And then since we started doing this, just to sort of hold my head up above water when I'm talking to you, I've been reading more and more.
Like pay attention because I'm gonna be like
yeah, and but I've come to the same conclusion I came to before, that a lot of public opinion is, well, the very fact that Israel is doing things that we think are awful means that it's open season on them.
Well, yes, and it's a little more complicated.
And I didn't want to go so far as saying the very fact that Israel exists means it's open season on them. I think there are some people who think just flat out shouldn't exist. I've talked to them.
A lot of people think that, and a lot of people think any means is legitimate. Now, you can trace this line of thinking, by the way. I trace it back to the radical philosophy that emerged in the 60s and was put forth by Malcolm X. Because Malcolm X is famous for a quote. And I don't know the quote in quotes, but the essence of it...
Those are air quotes.
Air quotes. The essence of it is like, look, here we are. We are a persecuted people. And we don't have the means of rebellion at our disposal. We don't have the organization. We don't have the arms. We got nothing. So we have to make our enemy know that we will achieve our human rights by any means necessary.
Right.
Any means necessary. Which says that because of the position we're in, any tactic we choose
people took that
is legit. Right. They took it. And the Palestinians are the proof. Okay. The Palestinians are saying, hey man, any tactic we choose in our revolution is legitimate.
As long as we're here and they're here, we can do it. We should be able to do what we want.
And the reason Israel's failing in the public relations war is because they're not addressing that. Israel's still promoting the idea that we are a moral entity. Here is our moral value system that we live by, and it is superior to the moral value system of the Islamicists and the Palestinians who will cut off your heads, who conduct honor killings, who take hostages, who hijack airplanes, who basically attack civilians in a way, that's what we call terrorism. They attack civilians and terrorize people to get people to go along with them. Right? So
what do you saying? They should say, you know what? We're under siege constantly by any means necessary. Deal with it.
Who should say that?
Israel should say that.
No, I think Israel should stop saying, we take the moral high ground because no one believes it.
Right.
No one believes Israel's on the moral high ground.
Nope.
Right? A handful of people believe it. I believe it because I understand the Israeli situation. And I think they need to address public opinion. and say, look, here's what you don't understand. The moral high ground that you expect America to take, which, by the way, America doesn't take.
Nobody takes it.
Right, no one takes it.
Switzerland?
It doesn't even apply here. Because we're not surrounded by an ocean on either side like America. We are surrounded by enemies. And we don't have a country that is 3,000 miles in breadth. We have a country that's 17 miles in breadth. Right? And if you don't understand the reality of our existence, you're in no position to judge our actions.
What is, how's border, like, how do they cover the borders in Israel? How do they control the borders?
Well, on the ground.
Can you sneak into Israel?
Can you sneak in?
Yeah.
They just deported like 100,000 Africans who snuck in. Right, but all these people.
Oh, that's right. They're racist.
Okay,
I forgot.
Right. How do they? No, I mean Africa's completely impoverished, right? And they share a border.
No, but I think that
Africa.
was the.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I was in Israel.
I don't know what I'm saying.
I was in Israel when they had when all the Africans were there. I mean. And there was a certain hip quality to it. I mean, you go down to, South Tel Aviv, and, they had African restaurants, and, people were
wasn't like the
ganja.
crazy guys, when we were in Rome last year, there was Africans who would sell you anything.
It was exactly like that.
But
there's some bracelets.
But the Italians were like, yeah, they need to get out.
Yeah, it's like you thought the gypsies were bad.
Yeah.
No, right. Well,
that was 1 year ago, by the way, that I was in Italy. 1 year from today.
Really? And imagine this.
Makes me sad.
So the Italians are like, oh, we got to get rid of the Africans. They're wrecking the country. Never mind that we had colonized them only a few short years ago. Right? And in France, these freaking Africans we got. But if Israel does it, France and Italy condemn them.
Well, I think
so that's the hypocrisy.
For the purposes of this podcast, that hypocrisy, the double standard is very clear.
Right, and that's what I'm mad at. But your question, Israel controls their country from the ground up to the
to
space.
That?
I saw that. On the ground, you have to keep in mind, in Israel, every non-religious, non-Muslim Israeli, okay, so basically every Zionist Jew, will enter the army at age 18. Every male will serve more than 2 years. Every female will serve 1.5 years minimum. If they want a specialty, air traffic control, submarine or whatever, they'll serve more.
They go to college after that.
They go to college after that. Right, so they've developed a career as a soldier before they even go to college. And when they're doing their reserve duty, they are under arms and they're patrolling the country. They're not just in classrooms. They're carrying rifles, and they're all over the country. So you have armed the Israeli army on every square inch of land, patrolling the country, the borders, the border crossings, and all that. You have the Israeli Navy, right, on the Mediterranean.
How big is that?
Red Sea. It's fairly big. Yeah. I mean, they just bought 4 Dolphin nuclear submarines from Germany, which they could sail over to the Persian Gulf and launch a nuclear bomb on Tehran.
That wouldn't be a good PR move.
Right, it's pretty good. They can patrol the Mediterranean to the point where they can exploit their natural gas fields between Cyprus and Lebanon.
How big are their armed forces versus, say, Egypt's?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, Israel, I think Israel, I don't know how many people they have under arms, but if they were to mobilize everyone, they could probably raise, 1 million people.
That's incredible. Out of a population of how many?
7.5 million.
15% of the whole population. That's impressive.
Yeah, I think that would be about right. They could probably raise 1 million people. They probably have a couple of 100,000 under arms at any time.
Yeah.
Right. The Air Force is constantly covering the country. They got satellites, eye in the sky.
But
they have the best intelligence all over.
Let me ask you this, though.
All over the world.
And you may feel differently about this than me. It would seem to me like living in that state of alert would be exhausting.
It is exhausting.
See, I would think a guy like you...
Have you been to Israel?
Nope.
Well, go see for yourself. These people are another breed, man.
I just think it'd be exhausting.
These people don't get exhausted. They don't sleep.
That's what I mean. A guy like you would be like, yeah, bring it on, man.
No way. I'm a slouch.
Yeah.
Look, Mike, I have family in Israel. My cousins, okay? First of all, here I am, an American. I live well,
Beautiful Twilight Lounge.
Everything's,
Guitars on the walls.
We don't want for anything. We have free time. We have, disposable income. We're secure. We're safe. It's wonderful. I went to college lackadaisically, and I got a bachelor's degree, and I worked for a drug company, make good money. Okay, my family in Israel, before they ever went to college, this is not one of them, it's all of them, before they ever went to college, like I said, they went to the army, and they became submarine commanders, air traffic controllers, Army Corps of Engineers, radio controls. Educated people who operate a technical function. Then they went to university and got their bachelor's degrees. Then they continued and got their master's degrees. Now they started their companies. No one gets hired, or went to work for a company which sent them to China, to work to India, to Europe, and then they start their families. So what I'm saying is by age 30, they have accomplished so much just so they can live in a condominium. And barely make ends meet because they're making, 50 cents on the dollar of what we earn
Once
here.
again, that seems exhausting.
It's right. And then they're doing their jobs, they're raising their families, and they have wars.
Yeah.
And they get called up.
And then when they
serve in those wars, and they take a month off of work, and they go into the army.
And then when they go on vacation to France, everyone gives them crap because they're Israeli.
Right. And what their attitude is like,
yeah,
screw you.
What's weird is that the one Israeli guy that I know best from years, I can't even picture in the army.
Right, is he like a little sweetheart?
No, you know who I'm talking. I can't picture that guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can picture him pulling strings, but not like marching.
Yeah, no, but they don't march. They don't
their
march? Army
is
not like ours.
Oh.
Their army is not like ours. They're not a top-down command by general. You do what I say. If I tell you to dig a hole and then fill it up the next day, you do it. The Israeli society and their military is really based on a leadership meritocracy model.
It's not break you down so you become part of a machine?
No. It's like, what do you bring to the table? What do you have to offer? This guy's smart. Let's put him in a smart role. This guy's got natural leadership tendencies. He's going to be a commander.
Help my son, the general's drowning. Once in a fit of anger, when I was probably in my early 20s, my dad yelled at me that I should have gone into the military. It would have been a good thing for me. He was right.
But would it be good for the military?
I don't know. I think I would have done okay had I been caught back then. Now, no way.
Yeah,
I couldn't even, I would see the line of toilets next to each other with no walls and go, sorry,
right,
I'm out. I'm opting out at this point.
Yeah, I don't,
But that idea, but the military you described is not what he was talking about. The American military, where you're told, go do this and quit whining. That's kind of what I needed. I needed to quit whining.
What's the name of the Israeli military? Do you know what their official title is?
The IDF? What does that stand for?
Israel Defense
right.
Force. What's the American military do? Do we defend the country?
No.
When's the last time we had a war on American soil? More than 100?
1812.
Well, when the Mexican-American War,
1898?
Even so, 1800s.
Yeah,
you can't even think of one in the 1900s.
Unless you count 9/11 as an act of war.
An act of war, there was no declaration of war.
There was no battle.
No nation that declared war. It was a terrorist attack.
There was no there was no hiding in your basement because the army's marching through type of thing.
Right. So every war we've been engaged in for at least the last 150 years have been fought on foreign soils, and they're usually for the benefits of others.
Right.
Well, you think about it.
Right.
I mean, I'm a patriot. But
it's funny. I have to say, in the run-up to the second Iraq War, when everyone was saying, it was after 9/11, and they're saying, well, what if, Saddam Hussein says what if he has a nuclear suitcase bomb and some Iraqi guy goes to Denver and blows it up? And I thought, well, that could happen. I felt like we were actually defending ourselves.
Well...
But it turned out we weren't.
I feel more vulnerable to that type of thing today, personally, because, Saddam Hussein... Like him or not, and I don't like him. I hated him. Well, he demonstrated that he can be dealt with. You can make a deal with him, and the U.S. made deals with him. We made plenty of deals with him. We worked with him for a lot of years.
You must, boy, if you're going to be in big time government, you got to hold your nose a lot, huh? The people you have to deal with.
Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, jeez, got to deal with this guy. What was I going to say? Shoot.
But you can't pick who's governing the other countries.
Right. I'll tell you what, though. Unstable Arab countries not good for the Jews.
No, absolutely not. And stable Arab countries were also not good for the Jews. So Israel's looking at the devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
What's going to happen? God, I want to reveal my ignorance, but so the ISIS group,
which is the Islamic State in Syria, which is now ISIL, Islamic State in the Levant, because they're now active from Syria through Lebanon all the way to Iraq.
And are they functioning as if it's the 11th century? That's their goal, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the first thing they do is they come in, they
Jews.
let everyone know who's boss.
Right.
Okay, how do they do that? They come in, they settle scores with all of their enemies, political or not. So that's like I'm saying, this kid who was killed in the West Bank, the Arab kid, was it a retaliation by settlers? You don't know. Did some, Arabs see an opportunity to settle the score with the kid? You don't really know.
Right.
We don't know.
It's all timing.
Right.
That's all we know is timing.
And so people make correlations in their mind between the political events they know about and certain actions, and they create a story for themselves, and that's what the media does. It's all speculation.
Because and you can expand this beyond politics. I mean, everyone's already got their narrative, and they're looking to plug in pieces to make it work.
Right, and that's where all these conspiracy theories come from.
Yeah.
Okay, but what is ISIL, ISIS, what do they do? Well, they come in, okay, you got their armed forces, and they have a shootout, and they're going to take over a town. So they've besieged the town, you got the local people of that town who were like the power structure for a long time, like Mosul in Iraq. Mosul is a Kurdish town, they got a lot of oil there, quasi-independent, because the Kurds wanted to be independent for all these years, so they worked out a deal where they've got some sort of autonomy and they can make their own kind of agreements with oil companies and whatnot. The Iraqi government gave them that latitude, okay? And now they get attacked by, fundamentalists.
What are these guys attacking
ISIS.
with? Spears? What do they have?
No, they got heavy weapons. They got rockets, they got armored
they're
cars, they got
fundamentalists,
rocket-propelled grenades, they got AK-47s, they got improvised bombs, they've got suicide bombs, but it's the rockets, and they got armored cars.
Yeah.
They probably have tanks that they've gotten from here and there.
Traded stuff.
Yeah, they got artillery.
Okay.
So they roll in and they fight it out on the ground, and they eventually win. They take over key positions. They take the police department. They capture the airport. That's major.
Yeah.
Now, so they capture the hospital, so they got key positions.
So once they capture an airport, if they want it to be the 11th century, if this is a commercial airport, what happens to United Airlines? Can they still fly in and out?
Well, you're talking about local area. You're not talking about international.
Oh, so it's not a big airport.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
To capture like the main airports in Baghdad, they now control the whole
huge,
country. Right? My point is they capture key points, okay? And now they set up their organization. So now they're going into a neighborhood. Used to have a Kurdish checkpoint. Well, now it's taken over by the ISIS guys. They kick the Kurds out. Anyone who resists them gets killed. All the Kurds who used to control the place, they seep into the terrain. They go underground. They hide out. They have to regroup. Now ISIS is in control. Now what are they doing? They're delivering retribution. They're going to all the businesses.
Making a lot of proclamations.
They're saying you got to pay us some money, some protection.
They're big on proclamations.
They're going out to the local journalists, the local newspaper, take the guy out, show him who's boss, maybe cut his head off. God forbid you had a lesbian-gay alliance there. You guys getting your heads cut off right away.
Well, they keep that stuff secret.
Right. They still keep that secret.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? They're going around and they're basically now knocking off. They take the mayor, the sheikh of the village. You got a choice. Are you with us or against us? If they can find the guy. If you're against us, they kill him.
They must think we're so soft.
We are. We're a democracy. We're totally, this one's telling to American people you cannot conceive of what life is like in these places.
I know.
And here's the strange irony is, for whatever reasons, like your average American, everyone in this town is buying, Red Bull from a Palestinian merchant who owns the corner liquor store.
Yeah.
Do you ever go in there and ask this guy for his opinion? Say, tell me the truth.
I'm afraid
what
to.
What's going on?
Because it was funny, when my kid was on the 8th grade Israel trip, I wandered into the place, not the usual one I go to, went a few blocks away, and I bought a falafel. And of course, nicest guy in the whole world,
Yeah.
I am from the Holy Land too.
Yeah, sure.
And I thought, boy, I wonder if we're like 3 sentences away from wanting to kill each other.
Well, I mean...
I don't know. I wasn't going to ask.
You don't have to say, what do you feel about Israel and Jews? It's just like,
what the heck's going on?
What's going on? What is ISIS? What is it? What is Islamic fundamentalism? I mean, just, what is all this? Give me your perspective on it. You'll get an earful.
Really?
Because people don't understand,
Actually,
man.
We did, from the guy who owns the Italian restaurant. He is, I can't remember where he's from, but he's Christian. He's Catholic, so he had a completely different... But he started veering toward stuff that made me a little uncomfortable. It was like a drunken night.
You have to, for me, I'm willing to listen to anyone and just take the information and assimilate it. I don't put up my oh, he's challenging my narrative, and now I got to come up with my counter narrative.
Oh no, I won't come up with any counter narrative.
Just like,
I'll just quietly sit there. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, I want to understand.
You really gotta push me to get me to say anything.
I think that's the way to do it. I mean, I really want to understand my enemy. I know where I'm coming from. I'm secure in my view.
More importantly, for me, I won't say it unless I know it's true.
Yeah, and I don't see any reason to say it.
Unlike in this podcast where I'm constantly talking out of my butt, in real life, never.
Well, I think that's smart. I mean, because you know how it is. You can't change someone's mind.
I'll tell you
can't
what,
change someone's opinion.
You spend an entire life trying to build yourself a reputation as someone who never says something unless he knows it's true, and then you pull that out and say, "Would I say it?" Nobody cares.
Right, it doesn't matter.
They don't care. They just think you're being a jerk.
For the most part, people don't have the means to judge what is true. You know, they really don't know what is true.
Well, I try not to talk about important things, so they won't have anything really.
Well, we're talking about two different things. When I say true, I'm not talking about what's factual.
Right. We are. You're talking about different. You're talking Rashomon. Like we saw the same thing in two different ways.
I'm talking about human nature. Like there are certain truisms that all people can recognize.
You know what, though? I got to say, it is a bummer. My next door neighbor, who's a white guy from Kansas City, great guy. I remember going out to dinner with him a while back, and he started just rah rah Israel, rah rah rah. And I was just like, oh no.
Right, yeah.
And then later he was like, and this is the bummer part though, and he felt horrible afterwards because I didn't say anything, and Jerry's like, and he's like, I'm sorry, we lived there, and I saw some really bad things.
He lived in Israel?
No, he lived in Lebanon, maybe?
Well.
I don't know, but he said, I saw some really bad things. I'm like I've heard lots of those stories from white guys usually about, IDF people hitting an old lady or something, and okay, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I just feel bad.
Right. Well, that's fine because, I don't feel compelled to defend every action of every Jew or every Israeli. And I think people who have that knee-jerk reaction, I think they're making a mistake. It's like the case, like what got us started on this, Did some Jew turn around and retaliate against the murder of our kids and kill another kid? If they did, I think it's indefensible, and I don't feel any need to defend it. And I think any human being looking at the situation who understands what the Israelis experience can understand the context well enough to say, okay, I see how this fits into the context. It doesn't represent all Israel knowledge. But I don't feel the need to say any of that or defend it.
What's frustrating is not just indefensible, but like remarkably stupid. Like, so stupid. Don't you know? Don't you understand what the world's going to think?
Well, but
shouldn't you just assume that? Or are you so consumed by your anger that you just don't care and I'm going to kill someone?
I think here's the reality. Forget what the facts are and what occurred at all. But the reality of the situation, I think, for the Israelis in Israel is they don't care what the world thinks. They're dealing with their immediate situation. What they care about is what does their enemy think, and how do they deal with their enemy, and they care about their personal security.
I think it's in their best interest to care what the world thinks, even though it seems like it's impossible.
Secondary.
It's a farce. It'll never
secondary.
happen.
These people, I can tell you this. These people are real. They're looking at real politics. They're saying, you know what? Public opinion doesn't really matter. What matters is, are we secure, and what are our economics? If we're secure and if we've got contracts where we've got jobs and we are selling our products abroad, you can take your public opinion and stick it.
No, man, I think public opinion is important in this case.
Well, let me ask you something, Jew.
Okay.
When has public opinion ever been in favor of the Jews? When have the Jews ever been popular? When have we ever enjoyed better conditions than we do today? Have you forgotten who we are and how we fit into the human drama? The role of the Jew and the Jewish in the psyche of the world?
Right.
There is a real thing called anti-Semitism. It is a real human pathology. We Jews fit a place in the human psyche, and it's not good. It's never been good. We've been their scapegoat forever.
Okay, but in practical terms.
That is practical. That's reality. They act on that.
So then you're saying that there is no proper response that Israel can do that will help them in the public eye.
I'm saying Israel's response is proper. The first thing you do is look after the personal welfare and safety of our people and make sure that you're well defended. And if that means build an iron wall around yourself, that's what you do.
Do you think there's anything the Palestinians, or in a larger sense, the Arab countries can do that will make the world sit up and go, oh, that's what you meant?
Yeah, they're doing it.
Really? Because I don't see it, and I read the comments, and I still see, no, you deserve it, you deserve it, you deserve it.
Because there's a well-organized bunch of activists out there on the internet who are responding to these things. But the fact is, go to Kansas City, where I just was, and just walk into a bar and say, hey, show of hands! Who thinks, these Arab fundamentalists, the Muslim fundamentalists that are taking over Iraq and Syria are good? People hate them. Across this country, I mean, a lot of our foreign policy is built on our hatred for these people.
Hatred or fear of these people? I mean,
they're
two
all
sides
of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
Two sides of the same coin. I mean, and there's a clear split in the country. The people, I think our president is trying to diffuse that, dissuade that, and I think he comes from the apologist camp, and I think he's trying to...
Chamberlain-esque.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's working, and I think all of his actions are failing, and I think it's aggravating the right, who are like, we hate them, and we should be actively... Look, we went to Iraq.
Is anyone else home besides you?
Oh yeah, everyone.
Okay, because your doorbell's ringing.
Right. People are saying, look, we went to Iraq. We were there for 10, 12 years. We fought these guys. They're the ones who executed 9/11. They're all bad.
Okay.
And now look what happened.
In Kansas City,
the fundamentalists have taken over.
How come? Okay, then how come where we live, there is a prevailing opinion, public opinion, and official opinion that they're just like us. If you just leave them alone and give them what they want, they'll be cool.
That's a countervailing point of view.
People
believe that.
Like
I used to believe that, but you know what? It's not true.
I used to think, not that long ago, like, cool, here's what Israel should do. Give them what they want. And then after they get their state and they mount a war against Israel, then we'll go, see? And then people will see. But I don't think people would see. I think they'd still say, well, you know what? You shouldn't be there in the first place.
Whether you're right or wrong, here's the problem with that. That's what a lot of Americans say. Here's the problem with that. You think it's so easy for Israel with 7 million people to give up territory to their enemy and trust that their enemy won't attack them, and then if their enemy does attack them, just turn around and take it back? They can kill the Israelis. Israel is the only reason Israel exists is by the force of their own arms. Those are Israeli lives that are hanging in the balance.
They will attack them.
They attack them even from their position of weakness.
Okay, they
attack them to provoke them.
Right.
The Hezbollah. Who are they? They're not the government of Lebanon.
No.
They're an independent army in Lebanon, answerable to no one, and they provoke Lebanon into a war with Israel.
And if anything else, I think that naivete and the idea that, well, if you just give them the West Bank, they'll be happy, is ignorant at best.
It's ignorant because if you look at the
dangerously ignorant.
If you look at the doctrines of the Palestinians, and the Hamas especially,
yeah,
they're
you making
the
Hamas. You keep
Hamas.
saying that.
The Hamas does not support a two-state solution. They do not recognize.
No, and how come? So it, all it takes is one Google search, and you can find that information. But if I were to walk downtown and ask people, no, that's not true. Come on.
Because Americans believe what they want to believe, and they want to believe what you just described. They want to believe there's a formula. Americans like solve problems, and there's a formula here. And what Americans don't understand, and Americans live in the comfort and safety of this island. Right. Where we have no enemies for thousands of miles, and we're the most powerful military force on Earth, and there's 300 million of them. We can't understand.
We're so safe that we can hate ourselves.
We're so safe we can. We are untouchable. You think September 11th is a disaster? I mean, you think September 11th?
Yeah.
September 11th was an insult. That's what it was to us. It was an insult to our national pride. It didn't hurt this country. The next day, it was business as usual. Our economy wasn't destroyed.
Right.
Our government wasn't destroyed. Our military wasn't destroyed.
You think that was because, okay, was the intention of that to do any of those things, or was the intention to get our attention?
The intention was to deliver a humiliating blow.
But it wasn't a strategic.
Well, no, I think it was strategic. I think had they actually succeeded in attacking the Pentagon and the White House, you're attacking now the commercial capital of the U.S., Twin Towers, the Pentagon, which is a military headquarters, and the Capitol. Yeah, it could have been a devastating blow. And who knows? Maybe there could have been follow-up military action. Maybe there are sleeper cells in the country who might have, followed with the secondary actions. Now start attacking the railways. Now start poisoning our water supplies.
No idea who they are.
It's all out in the open. All our shit's out in the open.
Right. I'm actually I wonder how many times they've tried in the ensuing 13 years and been stopped.
All the attacks I'm aware of were all on foreign soil, attacking our presence in Yemen and
But you'll get some vague
Africa.
reassurance from the government, like, well, yeah, we've stopped a ton of attacks, would-be attackers.
Well, our government lies to us, as all governments do, and we know it, and we caught it.
I feel a certain comfort in that, actually.
I do not.
Oh.
That's anti-American. Sorry.
But
we're different. We're a unique and an exceptional country. We can't
seems
have
like
that. Sorry.
This may be incredibly naive again.
Yeah.
I'm using naive this week instead of talking out of my butt. I'm trying to expand, but it seems like that an attack like that doesn't seem like it would take that much planning.
September 11th?
Yeah.
It took substantial planning.
5 guys.
Well, it was 20 guys.
Okay.
They had to learn how to fly aircraft. They had to be able to get onto the aircraft.
Okay, how hard is it for them to build a bomb, put it in a truck, and drive into Temple Emmanuel if the things aren't there in front?
It's not hard at all.
So why aren't they doing that?
What's personally, I believe they're not, because I don't believe there are sleeper terrorist cells in America that are threatening us. I think there are a lot of Arabs and Muslims in this country, and I'm sure a lot of them have their political points of view. But I don't feel that there's a fifth column in the United States, and I don't believe that American security personnel is keeping them in check.
Well, because even like the Boston Marathon bombing, those guys were rogue, right?
That's what I think.
Yeah, they were just guys.
But that doesn't mean it couldn't exist. It might exist.
Again, I'd be shocked. I'm shocked if it doesn't.
Well, if it exists, I'm sure it exists, but there's all sorts of conspiratorial people in this country. We got the Ku Klux Klan still, right? We got the American Nazi Party. We got all, we had the Weather Underground. There's all sorts of things like this that exist, but is
that's
America on the verge of being taken over?
That's crazy to think. I read a lot about the 1960s, and to me, it's insane to think that there was a time in the late 60s and the early 70s when the line between college kid who's interested in activism and we need to start blowing things up and killing people, America was really blurry.
Well, think of the conditions in the 60s. First of all, every young person was getting drafted to go to a very unpopular war. And we had segregation
Not
at home.
the college kids.
Right. The college kids, they
were
essentially the privileged white kids who had
yeah.
So I'm just saying it was in terms of revolutionary times.
It's pretty crazy. I think I need to read more about that because I still don't get it, and I don't understand how after all that Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers are now college professors.
Were they the weather people? I don't know.
They're like she was. I was looking for pictures because all I read about is how hot she was, and I still have not seen a picture to clarify.
I want to go back to the point you made about why doesn't Israel? This is something that really needs to be addressed because I think Americans see it this way, Europeans see it this way, and even our president and his screwed up cabinet raised this question. And his question goes like this: Israel, you're strong. Why can't you take a bold risk for peace? And the bold risk looks like this: withdraw from the West Bank, give that territory to the Palestinians, allow them to have their state, and trust that it's going to turn out okay, and trust that you will succeed at both living together in peace.
Okay, so what if Israel says, fine,
Wait.
I need an assurance from you that if they turn out to attack us, you got our back.
Israel doesn't. I don't believe Israel wants that.
Okay.
I don't believe Israel trusts. And I don't believe they should trust. And as an American, I don't really want that. And I don't think it's good for the Jews. The Israelis are an independent, sovereign nation. They want to stand on their own 2 feet and defend themselves. And they want, pacts and accords that mean something. What they really want is defensible borders. And they want to guarantee that the U.S. will continue to supply them with the arms they need and the intelligence and so forth. But I don't think they want to be under the umbrella of American military protection. They're not asking to be a part of NATO or anything like that. And I think it's totally understandable why they wouldn't expose themselves to the risk, of giving up land to the Palestinians.
You just got a text from your daughter. Yeah. Well, and I don't think the rest of the world recognizes that risk.
No, they don't. They don't appreciate that if Israel withdraws from that territory, now there's a war launched against Israel, it's ordinary citizens who've got to drop their work and to go away from their families, not just 22-year-old hothead U.S. Marine types, ordinary guys like you and me, who will have to stop doing what they're doing and take up arms to defend their families, not their country, not their nation. That it's not oh by jingo. It's to defend their houses and their wives and their children. Okay? And they know from experience because they've done it a dozen times in the past. They're constantly being criticized for their militarism. People don't understand the reality of how they live.
But okay, which takes us back to our original question. Israel's response to the kidnappings. People don't understand how they live. Is there any possible thing Israel can do, other than respond to texts from your daughter, that can explain to people the realities and have them understand it and believe it and not respond with, well, it's an apartheid country and you shouldn't even be there? It's like a freaking broken record. It's an endless loop. Is there anything they can do, or is this truly an existential crisis from which there is no emergence?
No, there's plenty they could do. They could do two things for starters. One, they could learn the history, and two, they could familiarize themselves.
No, not the people. What can Israel do in this case? What can they do? Like right now, do they need to? I mean, are they going to need to trump up, find someone? If it turns out this guy wasn't honor killing, this Muhammad kid, are they going to have to find someone to be the fall guy and say, "Look, we've got your guy"?
Oh no! This just passes. You know, the Israeli mentality is like, something's going to happen tomorrow and knock this off the front page, and
which is probably true.
Business as usual. Well, I mean, that's what happened. Look, when they had the thing with was it Mavi Marmara? The Turks sailed a ship. It basically came from here, but they sailed out of Turkey, a bunch of peace activists and all these other people bringing supplies to Gaza. They're going to break the blockade of Gaza. They sailed the ship, and the Israeli commandos boarded the ship, and the people on board put up a fight, and the Israelis killed 7 of them.
Right.
Now, is there more screwed up public relations?
Pretty bad.
Totally destroyed the Israel-Turkish relations, which had stood, for like 40 years. I mean, it was a disaster. Complete disaster. And the Israelis, and no one understood the Israeli position.
Right.
And Israel screwed it up royally.
Yes.
And guess what?
Everybody
forgot. A couple of weeks later, something else was in the news. They forgot about it.
Well,
Turkey didn't forget.
No.
And that's what will happen now. Something will happen tomorrow and people will be looking elsewhere.
Well, and again, like I said, as we come to the end of our hour, there is no way to really quantify it as good for the Jews or bad for the Jews.
It's all bad.
It's all bad. Yeah, this whole thing is bad for the Jews.
It's bad for the Jews, and let me tell you this. Jews, I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of Jews who are going to support any type of revenge, killing, retaliation where a child is kidnapped and killed.
No.
That's just not how we do it. Granted, there might be some bad apples among us who think that's the right way or whatever. I don't know if they exist or not. I don't even know if that's the scenario of what occurred here. But by and large, for the most part, that is antithetical to the Jewish value system. And unfortunately, it is consistent with the value system of ISIS and Hezbollah and Hamas. That is their tactic.
That's pretty crazy, and I don't know how they make it okay.
They say by any means necessary.
Yeah.
That's what makes it okay.
I guess so, and everyone's an enemy combatant, but
that's their rationale, and these are facts.
It's hard to get around that.
Yeah, it is.
It's really hard to get around that and still be the world's pariahs.
Right. So if you live in a tiny little island surrounded by these type of people, you don't have a lot of options. And that's why I say your option is this was the principle of Jabotinsky: build an iron wall around yourself. Israel must be strong and have a strong national defense, and they need territory. Territory equals security. So if you want to understand what's going on the ground and why Israel doesn't just give them their state, this is the reality. They expose themselves to huge risks that they're not willing to tolerate as a nation.
And not for nothing, has any country ever ceded back land that it won in a war that they had been attacked?
Yeah, Israel did.
Yeah, but no one else.
They were attacked in 1973. Israel had the Sinai Peninsula, and they gave it all back to Egypt for a lasting, enduring peace, which was, and the peace treaty was co-signed by the U.S., and the U.S. put their stamp on it and said, we will enforce the peace treaty. That's what Israel's looking for. The U.S. cannot make that same type of treaty work between the Palestinians and the Israelis in the West Bank because it's not the same situation. You know, they might be able to make such a thing work on the Golan Heights if you had a partner in Syria, but you don't.
Because they're just nutty.
Well, there's no government. There's no functioning government.
And meanwhile, I keep getting pictures on Facebook of Sam in Israel having the time of his life.
Right, because Israel enjoys security, and that security comes from the Israel Defense Force. And their strategy, their tactic, is all the things you hear about. Yeah, there's a wall that separates the West Bank from Jerusalem. That provides them with security. Yeah, you know, you fly into Israel, you're subjected to security restrictions, and if you're an Arab, they pick you out right away, and they put you through the mill. That's the price of security. You know? That's what it costs them. That's the trade-off, right? Everyone's under arms. Everyone goes in the army. That's the price of their security.
Well, heady stuff.
Yeah.
Heady stuff. That's a wrap for this week. Mom, I want you to know that we are inching so much closer to being on iTunes, even though you don't use iTunes. I'm singling you out because I know you're listening. From the Twilight Lounge, Mom. Sam, I hope you're enjoying Israel. Kimmels, I think they're there as well. Mark Samuelson, I know you are not there, but maybe someday you will.
Oh.
Until next week, that's a wrap.
We're out.